content is king. I don't
Yep.
believe that you can produce too much content because there's all these filters and things like that. And if you put enough out there, more people will see it. Welcome to the Matt Literacy Project. This is a show about all things real estate, business, marketing, and entrepreneurship. Each show consists of myself, Matt Literacy, a member of my team, and a guest. This week, we are updating the coronavirus situation. This is Season 2, Episode 28, COVID-19, Week 10 podcast, and we are labeling this one The Last Dance, in ode to the Chicago Bulls' Last Dance. This will be our last COVID-19 podcast because the situation is getting lifted, so we will not do any more of these. And I think it's nice, just like The Last Dance, the Bulls series, they had 10 episodes. We have 10 episodes of this podcast. What we've been doing is just updating what we've seen happen each week in the COVID situation. So if you're super bored, go back 9 episodes, watch them from the beginning till now and see how right or wrong I have been. What I've been doing is just reading off questions and answering as honestly as I have. I don't see these questions ahead of time. We have both assistants, my marketing and my graphic designer, come up with some questions. They ask people questions. My agents ask other people questions. We come up with questions that are asked of us. We ask out in social media, and we have, my marketing person takes all the questions, puts them in one document, uploads them to Evernote, and here they are. I got to mention the date. That's what I do every time. Today is Friday, May 22nd. This situation is changing by the minute, by the day, by the hour. So if I tell you something now and it's different tomorrow, I can't predict the future, guys. Normally, we've been shooting these on Thursdays, so today is Friday, so a little different here. But I'm just going to get after it and just start reading off these questions. Question 1. Do you turn down business? How would you politely turn away a buyer or seller if you decided it's not the best use of your time or your team's time? Every now and then, I turn down business. This is great timing. We just came from a listing appointment where we had a disagreement. It was actually a pretty heated conversation, especially given it was the first meeting. We thought it was worth $400,000 less than what the seller thought. The seller thought it was worth $400,000 more than what we thought. Now, we could be completely wrong. I doubt it. But if somebody is completely crazy on price, it's not worth our time. It's not worth our time or money or energy. We have a lot going on. If you're that far off on pricing, we're not going to do it. On the buy side, it's a little bit rare. The only way we would is, I don't know. I haven't really politely turned any of it down, but we try to work with as much as we can. Like even that person that's $400,000 or different, I'm going to try to see if we could work together in some way. But at the end of the day, if you don't see eye to eye, it's just not worth anybody's time to work together, especially if you don't, if you guys don't think you're going to work well together. Will you discount your commission if you have a client that wants to buy and sell with you and it's a larger price deal? Yeah, we do. I discount my commission to, and then full disclosure, and I can only talk about what I do, but I discount my commission if it's a repeat client. I appreciate loyalty. It's like a loyal rewards program. And if you're a loyal client, it's a repeat client, and you buy and sell, I have a different discount. And if you're a new client and you buy and sell, it's a different type of discount. But yeah, I have different ways that I run commission depending on stuff. But if it's gonna be 2 sales, sure, you'll get a little bit of a break on the sell side. Did you watch The Last Dance? What did you think of it? Perfect question, given that this is The Last Dance. I did watch it. I thought it was one of the best pieces of television I've ever seen. I actually grew up loving basketball. My favorite players were Jordan, Pippen. I love Patrick Ewing. I love Hakeem Olajuwon. I love David Robinson. I love Sean Kemp. I love Larry Johnson. I was into basketball a lot in the 90s. My father is a sports whiz. You could literally ask him anything. He could tell you what happened in any game since Michael Jordan played. It's no joke. So it brought back a lot of memories. It brought back a lot of cool things. Fun fact, one of my first Bulls t-shirts I ever got was from Justin Hartley, who's now super famous on TV. Justin Hartley used to be my babysitter when I was a kid, and he used to come over to my house and do odd jobs around the house. Justin Hartley is now on All of Us or One of Us or some show. He just hosted something yesterday. But, the Bulls brings back a lot of memories, a lot of childhood memories of different things that happened. So It was just a great piece of TV. Now that the shelter in place is lifted, are you excited to move back to the city? Yes, I am getting very upset. The commute's killing me. Before, there's no cars. I mean, literally, first week of shelter in place announcement, I was driving to the city. It was like Walking Dead. There was nobody on the highway. I'd make it here like 15 minutes flat. You'd see some like drunk people that I probably saw from 4 o'clock in the morning, like walking on a bridge above you. It was like something out of the Walking Dead scene. And now it is like stop and go traffic the whole time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to, my place is literally, I could see my condo from here. I am looking forward to my less than 35-second commute. Have you noticed an increase in showings since the news of shelter in place has ended? Yeah, I have. Showings are crazy. Everything is multiple bids under $500,000. The market is really, really good right now. It's continuing to improve. So yeah, as the minute the shelter in place is lifted, it's going to be even crazier. Will there be open houses again? Yeah, I think they will be, but I don't think they're going to be soon. I don't think the shelter in place is going to lift and we're going to allow open houses right away. But I do think I think by end of June, beginning of July, I think we're going to see open houses. Are you still going to make people wear masks for showings? I'm not. This is a comfort thing. If a seller requires us still to wear it, then yeah, they'll have to wear them. I think I'm still questioning whether I'm going to have people ride in my car right away. I think maybe if they work in the hospitals or something like that, I probably will do 2 cars. But I think we'll slowly get back to normal of no mask and kind of operating normally. Are you excited to get a haircut? This mane that we have here, I mean, look at this hair. It's like can go completely over my ears. I have to like tuck it back, this is, yeah, I'm excited to get this thing trimmed. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is like a kind of like a guy going through a midlife crisis that has young kid hair. I mean, this is out of control. Are you still going to ask people for pre-approvals, confirm travel and symptoms, et cetera, before showings? I think for the short term, yes. And I think a lot of my sellers still want it, but probably long term, I give it 4 weeks. I would say no. I'll get rid of it. As soon as my sellers tell me to get rid of it, we'll get rid of it. It's not an office requirement. Right now I do it as a comfort to my sellers, but it won't be a long-term commitment. How will looser guidelines affect showings? Will there be more random lead buyer showings now? Yes, there will be. I mean, we spend a lot of money on Zillow, and I will tell you right now that even right before this podcast, we're a little bit late because we had a lead come in from Zillow from some random person that wanted to get in there in the next 30 minutes. So yeah, those calls are picking up and they're triple what they were last week. So I think we're going to see a lot more random showings. Who is your first crush? Interesting question. Who is my first crush? I think maybe at heart, I've always been a hopeless romantic, even though I don't show emotion. I do love me a good rom-com. But my first crush was probably Kara McFarland in grammar school. And shout out to Kara if she's still out there. But yeah, I've had a lot of crushes throughout my days, like any other young kid. I don't know who asked this, but good question. I don't know what you're going to do with that information. Now that patio dining is allowed, is there anywhere you are excited to go to? I'm not really an eat outside type of guy. Bugs and stuff just isn't my thing. But I am excited to go out to it, like a nice dinner with my wife and have some quality time. Although I do love my in-laws, it would be nice to have like a nice, just one-on-one dinner with my wife at a nice steakhouse or something. I think I'm kind of excited to do that. What do you think the new normal for real estate will look like? I don't think there's a new normal. I think people are going to slowly but surely get back to being how everything was. We are a knee-jerk reaction society where we go from one extreme to another extreme like night and day. I think in 2 months, everything for real estate is going to go back to how it was. I really do. Call me crazy. Call me an idiot. I think that's going to happen. And the reason I say that, by the way, guys, is I'm already seeing how real estate was done before get back to how it was. And we're just announced the shelter in place getting lifted. Just wait till this is gone 2 months from now. People are like, yeah, I remember when I used to do this, but that was COVID. We're going to see a lot of that. Well, just wait. Is there anything you have done or learned throughout quarantine for your business that you plan to keep? Example, virtual meetings, etc. No, I hate virtual meetings. I mean, I like them more than a phone call, but I like sitting down with the person. I think it's easier when you sit down with somebody. You connect with somebody a little bit more when you're face to face rather than when you kind of doing it like on a virtual perspective. But I think the thing I did learn a little bit more is that how to maybe qualify buyers a little bit more. At this time of year, you get a lot of people who are just kind of tire kickers. They literally have zero intention of buying, but they're just bored and they want to see a house. And I think the quarantine has allowed you to get a little bit more selective with buyers being a little bit more serious. And I think I've learned to try to pre-qualify people a little bit better. What do you think the shelter-in-place ending will do for interest rates? I think rates will remain low. I mean, the rates have to do with how the economy is doing. The economy is not doing great, like as a whole right now, but I do think as the shelter-in-place gets lifted, the economy will get to be better. But I think they're going to keep the rates down to try to keep the home buying process very good because, housing has a lot to do with the economy. If the housing market's good, the economy is going to be better. And I think the government knows that. And I think they're going to try to keep the rates down. I could be wrong. Just my thoughts. Do you think sellers will be more cautious of who they will want to in their homes with less strict guidelines? Yeah, I think people with young kids, health problems, older people are definitely still going to be nervous. I mean, just because the shelter in place gets announced doesn't mean people are like, oh, okay, everything's completely fine. I think some people are still going to want to have a little bit stricter conditions. I think a lot of people aren't going to care at all anymore. But we'll see. But that's my thoughts on that one. Do you think you will be on track with your goals for the year now that the SIP isn't extending? We are technically 3-ish million behind year over year and 6 properties sold down. So we're barely behind. Pending sales are technically a little bit higher than we were last year. So yeah, my goal's still in place, and I'm looking at the board right now of what we got. I mean, we're at just about 66 million closed-ish, 67 million closed, and about 33, 34 million pending. So we're hovering right around 100 million. The goal was 220 million. So yeah, I mean, we're on pace. And considering that the best market is about to hit, I'm going for the goal. I'm not slowing down. I'm going to try to make it happen. Is Scottie Pippen a severely underrated as a Bull? No Tippin Pippen. Probably got that nickname because he wasn't paid well. But yeah, I don't think he gets as much credit as he deserves, but I do think he probably was a better player because of Michael. And I think we're probably going to have a lot of Bulls questions considering when we asked social media and called it The Last Dance, people probably got excited. But yeah, I love Scottie Pippen. Have you noticed buildings starting to loosen up restrictions, or do you think some of them will keep them in place? Every building that had showing restrictions is gone. So yeah, I think the restrictions are being lifted. I think sellers who are trying to sell are getting pissed that they had restrictions. So yeah, I think those are definitely getting lifted. What percentage of people do you think will follow social distancing and mask rules once quarantine is lifted? If it's my percentage guess, I'm going to guess 25%. I think 25% of people will stick with it. I think 75% of people are going to be like, it's done. That's what I think is going to happen. How will this change society moving forward? I don't think it's going to change it really that much. I think we're going to learn a good lesson that if something like this happens again, we'll know how to do it if this comes back in the fall. But I think the disease isn't going away. I think it's going to be something we're going to have to get shots for in the future, and it's just going to be there. But I think people are going to be a little bit more cautious about washing hands. Is the handshake going to come back? I don't know. I've actually, last 3 appointments I've been on, people have reached out for the hand, and I have not given them the hand. I've given them the elbow. But, I mean, I don't know. I think that's the one to watch is, will the handshake come back? That's what we should be thinking about. How do you anticipate your 2020 doing as a whole for residential real estate? I think it's going to be good in the sense that it's not going to drop. I'm calling the market's going to be flat. I think but when this whole thing is said and done, 2020 wraps up, we're going to say the market didn't really grow. It didn't really go down. Sales, technically, I bet you sales would be less because there's less inventory. And sales year over year for April, the stat just came out, was like down 17.6% year over year. So, and that's because there's not that much inventory and the pandemic. I told everybody, like, the main stats of COVID's effects not going to be hitting until April, May. So April, May closings is where you're going to see less closings because when people do 30, 45-day close. So mid-March is when the shutdown happened, which means that affected all the closings for April, May. So it looks like April closings are down roughly, let's call it 20%. Ours were still really good, but the reality is that by the end of the year, I think we're going to see a flat market with a little bit lower sales due to the inventory problem. Is there any chance you will still hit your 2020 goals? So we just talked about it. I think we're going to hit them. I'm not going to quit. I've worked every single day since this pandemic's happened. If we tilted the cameras, which we're not going to do, it'll show you they have 0 days off. So a day off in my office is a day, if on a weekday before 6:30 p.m. is a day off, and on a weekend before 4:30 p.m. is a day off. I haven't taken a single one because I'm going to fight hard to, help my clients out and make sure that their places get sold or help my clients buy a property. So I'm going to do everything I can. I'm not going to use this disease as an excuse of why I'm not going to hit my goals. I'm going to do everything possible to hit my goals. What will happen to all those agents that got let go from Redfin? Maybe some of them will get hired back. I don't think we're technically supposed to talk about other companies. I hope everybody gets back to work. I hope all agents everywhere get to get their jobs back and make a bunch of money for their families. Do you have a hair appointment? Second hair question. I do not. My hairstylist, I think was the appropriate word we found out, put a message on Facebook, and I replied back that I need a haircut ASAP. And she said, we'll talk. So I don't know what that means, Kate out there, okay, what we'll talk means, but this needs to get done. How likely do you think it is that there's a second wave and another quarantine period? I'm not a scientist. I have no clue. I'd have to assume there's going to be a second wave. I did do a lot of Wikipediaing of diseases, and there's always a second wave. I think it'll happen, but I don't think we'll probably have a quarantine. I think something's going to happen. This thing's going to come back, and we'll deal with it. What's going to happen? I don't know. I'm praying for not another quarantine, though. Overall, how much did the quarantine affect your business? We just talked about we're down a couple million, but everything was different. We're not where we were. Okay, so if there was no quarantine, I bet you my business would have been like up 10%. So you have to think about there's no way to tell what percentage we lost because if people just decided to not buy or sell. I have no idea. I could tell you right now that my business would be better if there wasn't a quarantine. Are you making any procedural changes to MLG moving forward? No. Everything's going back to normal. We're getting moving. We're not working from home. I need my people in here. We got to get moving. Will you try and work less with non-serious buyers moving forward? As I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna qualify people a little bit harder now that we've kind of perfected it a little bit more. I shouldn't say perfected. I think now that we've gotten better at it, we're gonna try to implement those rules more. Are you packed and ready to move? For anybody out there, I actually close in 7 days on our new place. We've been staying in the suburbs. I have not packed a single thing. And I'm mentally not prepared to move either. So no, I'm 0% prepared for moving. In fact, I think I'm negative, ready to move. What's next for the podcast? Great question. Don't know. We actually have a few podcasts to release that we never released pre-pandemic. So we have to release those. I think we might change some things up. I think we've learned a little bit, during this thing of what we can do, but, we won't announce those now. Stay tuned. And you'll see how the podcast will change a little bit. But it's definitely going to be different than what it was. Are you glad you did this special edition series? Yeah, I think I actually am super happy that we did this. I think it's pretty awesome that we have a week-by-week for 10-week thing that talks about what's happening. And you could go back and kind of watch kind of even my mood difference and what's happened in it and the different questions that people asked. And I think it's something we can have forever. And I think it's really cool that even I could show my son, Roan, that hey, here's what your dad was doing during the quarantine session. How cool is that somebody can say when they're 13 years old, they could sit and watch how his dad dealt with the quarantine. I think it's really, really cool to have all that video. Do you prefer podcasts alone or having guests? I don't know. I think I do like having a guest more than by myself. But I do think it's kind of cool that we have all these questions that people send in, and there's a ton of these. So I think that'll probably be part of what we're going to change, but I don't want to do any spoilers right now because we're still ironing out the details. How do you feel you performed during quarantine? I feel like I crushed it for the situation. So I feel like I did well given all the things that happened, and I think a lot of people perform well. But I think I performed really well because I refused to give up, and I wanted to try to be the best version of myself. And I didn't let myself down, and I didn't take my foot off the gas. In fact, I pressed it down harder. My best quarantine lesson learned. Honestly, I don't have one. Maybe wash your hands more like everybody else. I've learned some things with some clients to pay attention more to some of the detail that they give us. And that's why I think I lost some of my buyers, which I talked about last podcast. But so there's definitely ways to try to improve business, and I've learned there's like a million different things that probably have happened. So I guess that's probably the best lesson I've learned is just to kind of self-reflect a little bit more and kind of get better at the job as I can. What are your favorite suburbs and why? Hate all the suburbs. No offense to everybody out there. I do not like the suburbs at all. I just don't. And I don't have a favorite one because I don't like any of them. And honestly, I don't really know anything about any of the suburbs because I never go there. I go to the Payless area, the southwest suburbs. I know the southwest suburbs really well. I would never want to live there full time. And all the other suburbs, North Shore, northwest side of the city, west side, I don't know. I've never go to them, ever. I never go to any restaurants. I don't go to friends' houses. I don't have any friends, so I have nowhere to visit. Do you think the lakefront will open on 5/29? What restrictions do you think Chicagoans will face? I don't know if it'll reopen. They may have announced while I'm sitting here that everything's open, but I mean, I'm sure it's going to open, and I think Chicagoans will probably face a lot of people traffic once it does, because I know people are dying to get out there, and once these 80-degree days hit, those things are going to be slammed. Do you think Michael Jordan would have gotten us a 7th championship? More Last Dance questions. I actually think he would, because Jordan is the best, and I loved when I watched The Last Dance that he would find something to use as motivation, and that was it. And it was just kind of like when they that Pacers game when they hit Reggie Miller hit that last shot, and he looked at Larry Bird's face, and he was like, "Shit, they still got time for Jordan to get the ball." I mean, when you have Jordan, I think anything's possible, and if I have to bet, like, is Jordan give me a 7th championship or is he not going to get it? I'd put my money on Jordan getting the 7th championship. Any new listings you're excited to place in the market that you've been holding off on? Honestly, we've been listing everything. We're putting everything on the market, and we're moving stuff quick. Like, a lot of stuff is moving under $500,000 or above $500,000 stuff is getting better. $500,000 to $700,000 has definitely picked up big time this week, even up to $750,000. Above $1 million is still pretty slow, but I think it's coming. I think the showings are coming on those. When you did your inspection this week, how did it go? Are you excited for anything in particular for your new place? So for everybody out there, I did my inspection this week. There's a little problems, but the development team has been very responsive at Superior House. Shout out to them. I'm excited in particular for the view and the fact that it's new. Other than that, like, I don't get too excited about stuff like that. What are your thoughts on low inventory and high prices that multiple online sources have been discussing? So for everybody out there, common trend, and this is a trend now in the country, is there's not enough inventory for the demand. I think it's very local specific to each area and price points. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of multiple bids. 5 minutes before this podcast, we had a deal accepted as a buyer. Wasn't signed off yet. Another offer came in, so we had to raise our price after it was accepted. Will we get it? We'll find out once this podcast ends. I'm not going to check my phone, but yeah, I mean, it's multiple bids are frustrating, and low inventory makes multiple bids more prevalent. It is what it is. It's going to be like this the rest of the year, guys. So it's just something we're going to have to live with. Would you, man, some of these questions, I'll tell you. Would you rather vacation in Hawaii or Alaska, and why? Man, I'm going to have to ask Alex, our marketing girl, like, who asked this question? So I've been to Hawaii. I thought it was pretty good. I don't know if I'd ever go back on my own. I think here's my problem with Hawaii. It's really expensive to go to. And I think that unless you're into surfing and like the whole deep sea diving, I don't think it's really any different than going to like Florida or Mexico, which are way cheaper and closer. Alaska is probably all about hiking and all that stuff. I'm just for everybody out there, I am not an outdoors guy. Okay. May sound crazy to you. I don't like hiking. I don't like camping. I don't like surfing or swimming in the ocean. I like to swim in a pool. So like, I don't have any drive to go back to either place. I'll probably go back to Hawaii at some point because I know my in-laws really want to go. But minus that, Alaska, I would be surprised if you ever see me there. Unless Alaska acquires Napa type of wines and they have a great resort where I could sit there and drink them, you'll never see me in Alaska. Do you think Matterport will become as important as photos for listings going forward? I think it will become more important than it was. I don't think it's going to be as popular as it is now, but I do think that if you guys ever watch Shark Tank, one of the things they always talk about in Shark Tank for products is that learning curve. And they talk about the cost of the learning curve sometimes is a reason why people don't get a deal done. I think this pandemic has allowed Matterport to get past that learning curve. So I think it will be more popular. I think some sellers are going to be expecting it, but I definitely do not think it's going to turn into like a must right now. How do you feel about the Central Illinois bar owner opening his doors last week for an anti-corona party? This is literally the first I'm hearing about it. How do I feel about it? I'm sure a lot of people are upset. I don't know any of the details on it because I'm just reading this. Sounds like those people probably had a good time. Sounds like they probably were super irresponsible. I have no feelings about it because I don't know the situation, who was there. They weren't respecting the law, but I don't know. I have no feelings. Any way you answer this question, you're going to get yelled at, good or bad. So I'm just going to avoid that question altogether. How do you feel about Kristen Cavallari and Jay Cutler breaking up? We got some good, crazy questions here. Personally, I'm very upset. I'm a huge Jay Cutler supporter. Loved that Very Cavallari show. It was a staple in my house for what to watch. And Kristen Cavallari announced that she's not doing the show anymore. So personally, selfishly, I'm devastated by this. I feel bad for the kids. Anytime there's a divorce that happens, I feel bad for. But I'm a big Cutler fan. So, I feel I'm pretty beat up about this. Jay, I got your back. You need somebody to call and cry with? Call me anytime, man. You can find my number. Just Google it. Any shows you've been watching lately that are a must-watch? I finished all 3 seasons of Red Oaks. I said this last week. And I think that show is a must-watch. I have no new shows. New show I'm going to watch. It gets released today, Selling Sunset Season 2 on Netflix. It's got my old babysitter Justin Hartley's wife as one of the stars. They broke up, I've recently read. And by the way, guys, I don't know him anymore. And I did send him an Instagram message when he got super famous just to see if he remembered me. And no, he did not answer that. But that will be my must-watch for this week. As of the last 4 days, I've had a no-watch, but that's going to be my must-watch for the week. Personal poll, who is better, LeBron or Jordan? Again, I think because we put so many social messages about this being called The Last Dance, this is why they're coming. I think it's a no-brainer that Jordan is a billion times better than LeBron. And my old brother-in-law, Joe Rook, who used to work here, thinks LeBron's better than Jordan, and he's an idiot. And Joe, if you're watching this, which I know you won't, you are an idiot. Jordan would crush LeBron James. LeBron James is not a winner. If you've ever watched a basketball game, and I hate basketball, by the way, nowadays, LeBron will take 100 three-pointers and miss them, and then he'll hit one, and people think he's a god. He doesn't have that winning drive. All he is big. Jordan is a winner. Jordan has that mentality that he will accept nothing but winning. LeBron does not have that mentality. LeBron may be a more talented physical athlete, but Jordan mentally is a winner, and I would be willing to put my life savings on the line today that Jordan in his prime against LeBron in his prime, it wouldn't even be a game. He would blow LeBron James out of the water. And let's get a hashtag on this, who's better, and see what other people's opinion is on this. We'll put it down there and see who wins that vote, but it's definitely got to be Jordan. Can you do any TikTok dances? I cannot. I will not. I think TikTok's a great platform, but you know what? Let's not say never. Let's maybe take this, since I was about to say you'll never see me do a TikTok, but now I'm going to stop myself short. We're going to do a TikTok now because of this, and we'll see what kind of dance moves we can have, and we'll save this and we'll use this into the TikTok dance that we're going to do at somebody's property. How much have you slowed down since COVID-19 started? Not at all. I've worked harder. I've seen my family less. I could use a day off. I have 0 days off. I was talking to my lender friend about this earlier, Tony Lepescu, shout out to him. He's a good guy. That I feel like I could really use 1 day off. I'm at that point where I've normally had at least like one vacation where I've taken, normally at this time of year, I've had like 4 days off, and it's Memorial Day weekend, so I always take this weekend off, and I haven't had a single day, and I haven't seen my family at all. I've barely seen my son, like literally. I think I've seen my son like maybe 20 minutes a day, if I'm lucky. And everybody else is talking about this great family time, and I'm inside. I am kind of hurting a little bit about it, but honestly, I got a business to run, and it's been really hard, so I've had to work a lot more. And because of that, I haven't slowed down, and I can honestly say that I don't think I've ever worked harder in my entire life. I really haven't. It's to do one deal for the most part of this COVID has been equal to doing like 20 deals. That's how I felt it's been. And in order to make sure that one deal closed, you had to work so hard to make it get done. I'm working harder now than I've ever worked, and I'm getting paid way less. And I'm not saying it's about the money. I'm just saying like it's about surviving. What resources would you recommend for agents to develop expertise on in the marketing industry? I mean, there's a billion podcasts. This podcast is great, guys. Plug ourselves. But there's a million people's podcasts. You could watch Sirhan's vlogs. You could watch, any agent that does any business has a lot of successful tools. NAR, Chicago Associated Realtors. Shout out to Chicago Associated Realtors. They've got great resources. They're pumping out online content like mad. Use all that stuff to your advantage. Like, there's so much content out there. Just watch it. Take the time out to study it. The more articles you read, the more podcasts you watch, all that stuff. I talked about this last week. I subscribe to The Real Deal, Chicago Agent Magazine, Chicago Associated Realtor stuff. I subscribe to other social media stuff, so all these other agents out there. I read every vlog or read every article, watch vlogs of other agents. I study the markets for other areas. I would probably say anytime I ever have like free or me time or just me, I'm like doing stupid stuff, like looking at other people's marketing, looking at listening to a podcast, or reading some stupid article that gives me a stat that somehow my stupid brain memorizes. I'm constantly trying to educate myself as well. So you as an agent, there's so many resources out there. All you have to do is set aside the time and actually look at them. That's it. Do you see this Memorial Day weekend being different than others in terms of real estate activity? Yes. Again, I actually just talked about this again. I'll tell you, I take Memorial Day off almost every single year, and I do a quick 2-day vacation. And it's 3 days off for me total, because you get the day of travel and then 2 days and you're back. But I will tell you that I'm not taking it this year. I am literally booked every single day this weekend with showings, because think about it, nobody's really traveling because everybody's scared to travel. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm the same way. My wife doesn't want to travel either. Nobody's traveling. People are still technically under shelter in place. So they're still home, and it's a long weekend, and they're not working. So guess what? You got nothing to do, but you got to buy a house. So what does that mean, guys? That means that this weekend's activity is going to be insane, and it's Friday, and I will tell you right now, I am rushing through this because my entire day is booked. My entire day tomorrow is booked, and my entire day Sunday is booked, and Monday is booked. And my family's asking me, hey, can we do a Memorial Day barbecue? And I'm like, when in the world are we going to have time to do Memorial Day barbecue unless you want me to start cooking, because I got to cook, ribs or something at 9 p.m. at night, and we could eat at 1 in the morning. So, yeah, I think it's going to be busier. That's it. That's the last question. That wraps up our 10-part mini-series COVID-19 podcast. This one's called The Last Dance. For anybody out there that's been watching or tuning in every week, we do appreciate you guys taking the time out. We appreciate all the support, all the people who've asked all these questions. Honestly, it's crazy how many questions people send in a week. Look at that. That was almost like over a half hour of me just reading off questions on this one. Where can people find me? What do they want to plug? Subscribe to our YouTube page. We got a lot of new content coming out. We got a lot more vlogs. We got a day in the life of vlog coming out. Hit our subscribe button. Hit that bell so that you get notified when these get released. Follow us on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. Reach out if you have any questions, okay? But that's it for the COVID podcast. Thanks for listening to the Matt Literacy Project. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast, follow us on Instagram, and like us on Facebook.